covered for liability. Whether they sign a form or not, it's just, there's limits on, as long as they're doing a legitimate township function. And when you volunteer, you don't get healthcare, you don't get the workers' comp as well. And volunteers get T-shirts and things like that all the time, and still doesn't make them a paid volunteer. There's many criteria that have to be met, and there are exceptions in the law for volunteers related to firefighters, police reserves, things of that nature, so.
Okay. I guess I'd like to open it to the floor for discussion. I have no idea could I have a show of hands about how many people wish to speak on the subject? Okay, we're talking only 2, 3? Five. All right, I mean, if we're gonna go that big, then I think we have to say, okay, we'll put it 2 minute, will it be it's 2
I'm
minute?
gonna need more than 2.
Pardon?
I'm gonna need more than 2.
Yeah.
Gee, 3 is the township standard. We've never had to do this as far as restricting time talking. If we did, you know, Carl, today you might, would be in violation.
Got some very
So,
intelligent people here that.
we're gonna put a time limit on. We still have an agenda.
Why don't we have a
to go
vote on
through.
that? Why don't we have a vote on that?
Well, I don't need a
I don't
vote.
think you make
I don't need a
rules.
vote for what is Robert's rules and protocol, okay?
I disagree with that too, but go
So,
ahead.
what'd you have for dinner tonight? 3 minutes each right now, and we'll see where it goes from there. If it warrants further discussion, we'll go further discussion. So how do we wanna go first? Do you wanna lead off, Joey?
It's up to you, I just have a comment unfortunately, and I don't wanna
Yeah,
monkey
I don't
wrench
have
in
a
your
problem.
program here, but
Start it off.
it needs to be done. I retired last year, as you know, as the chief of police, and when I need to find something out, I find it out. And unfortunately, I don't wanna burst Dale's bubble, Mark's bubble, and Brent's bubble, because they got saddled with this. The only thing that needed to be done is why'd you give these 2 gentlemen that liability waiver? So what I do is, I did talk to Connie. She told me there is no threshold, they are covered, and lo and behold, 2 weeks later, she says they're not covered to somebody. So what do? As a chief of police, I know you don't go to these people here, because it's continuous. You know, you pick up I'll give you the example later. I got it running over here. I go to the head of the state compliance and law division. How you doing, buddy? No offense to you either, I just want to tell you what the laws are. The compliance and law division says, Joe, you compensated them. Doesn't matter, I compensated them very little. I threw them a few bones. You compensated them, they were at the direction of the chief of police. It was by resolution of the township. They are covered with the workers' comp program and the medical end of it, also they're covered. She said, absolutely, you cannot sign a waiver in Michigan, Dale. Only person that can make you sign that if there's compensation or there's a question is a judge. So what you did is you had these guys, $1.37 million I figured out. I took the rate of this year and I minus money every year that they saved us, because I'm not sure, it couldn't have been, there's no way 150 grand back 10 years ago. So I worked it backwards. These guys saved us $1.37 million. I did throw them a bone, there was compensation. It's documented compensation. They are covered liability-wise, you got no choice. Workers' comp, you got no choice. The medical end, got no choice. If you like it or not, in the township of Grosse Ile, they were covered. And you can take it whatever you want, Dale. The question is, why did you give them this waiver that you know Bill Bear and Mark aren't stupid? Why would they sign their rights away?
Who did you talk to so I can get it down in writing?
I talked to the head of the Law and Compliance Division with the Michigan Workers' Compensation Board, I guess, of Michigan. They work for the state. She said, absolutely. And I was straight with her, exactly what these guys did, exactly what they did every year. She said, she's sorry to say that, I'm sorry, Dale, you're the township manager. You don't even know they're covered. Brian, you don't know they're covered? Yet you try to get them not covered? I, as a guy in the streets, gotta go and get these questions. Maybe I ought to send you guys a bill.
I take my legal advice from our legal.
Oh, your legal advice was wrong.
Hold on,
She is the
hold on.
compliance department, don't you get it? When are you gonna learn? Every time you guys put your nose in the
Joey.
police department,
Joey.
it goes to crap. You pick up here, you pick up that bush like they do in the comedies. Are they watching? Are they watching? That's what you do. And we see everything you do.
Exactly what this is all
Hold
about.
Oh, 2 minutes, look at that, 2:55, I'm done.
Okay. So, thank you for your comment, Joey. Now, we're gonna do our due diligence. We're gonna go back and find out the comments, who he talked to and where that person came from, where the county comments came from. I've got copies of the statutory stuff too that she made her ruling on. And I applaud Joey for finding the stuff out. I also applaud Joey for running a great program for 11 years. But we may have had some things that weren't entirely where they should have been, and now we need to find out because it's become an issue. And it's easy to find out.
Can
but
you
it-
answer the
this-
question though,
Hold on,
Paul?
Joey. It's
Have
not
an answer.
your opinion versus
I have no opinion.
Dale's or any of us up here. It's very simple. There are people in Lansing and we have lawyers that can sort this out. But at this point in time, it appears from what I've read, they're covered for liability. They're not covered for workman's comp unless we compensate them, which can be done on a 1099 or
No,
per diem if we
you're
choose.
wrong, Paul. Paul, you're
And-
absolutely wrong.
And
They
they're
were
not covered on
compensated.
medical.
No.
But that is one series of opinions that we've got.
That's not an opinion. You want me to show you you want me to hand it to you and show you what I
No,
paid
it
them?
doesn't matter what
Yeah.
you say or what I say.
Want me to hand it to you? Want me to give it to the compensation you
We'll
got?
have lawyers look at
Lawyers
it and
don't.
give us. Joey?
Okay, all right, I'm sorry. You're right, Paul. You're right. It fell apart and no one was giving any answers. That's why you got 7 township people here tonight.
And
Because it's not a contentious
I hope
issue.
they come every month.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
All right. Who else wants to speak? Bill?
I'm looking at this as a process that has been going on for a long period of time. And when I start roughly at the beginning, which, as I understand it, was roughly 8 or 9 years ago, I'm not wanting to be pinned down to an exact date like the day we signed the Declaration of Independence. It ran with a commonly accepted group of understandings for approximately 8 years.
11.
11, okay,
It's 11.
thank you, longer.
And they were
Now-
covered 11 years ago, Bill.
Right. And basically, around this time of the year, every year, 11 times, we sort of teed up the football, we got all the stuff in order, we kicked it off, and everything was accepted. This year, around January 1st, that didn't work anymore. And yet I've been led to believe that all of the understandings that made it work every other year were in place. Now,
Right.
we go and look at it, since then, we've invested 8 months roughly in trying to ferret our way through this and understand what has been going on. And somehow miraculously, we get some kind of partial answer within a month. I'm saying to myself, what has been going on the past 6 or 7 months that took it that long to get these basic half-baked answers? We don't have them defined. I don't mean that as a derogatory word. It's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. They're not firm answers. We believe they still need research. It's an unresolved issue. And it has a dramatic impact on what's going to happen here. It's not the deer cull is not the biggest issue this community faces, but it's an important issue for a lot of people's lives and welfare and well-being. And I would have hoped somewhere in the midst of this, it could have been resolved more quickly than it has. I'm disappointed, but I'd like to know what's going on and why it's taken this long to get to this point that's still unresolved. Yet I'm assured that after all of this, we're gonna have a fine program? I'm having a hard time accepting all that. I got 3 minutes, I bet I've used more. Thanks for your time.
My brother said to be nice to you.
Well, thank you.
Hold on a minute.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your comment. We knew when we got into this in January, and we saw the situation, the window closed, the weather was lousy, We weren't able to pull it off. We knew we had until this next winter to get it in place. We had set kind of a goal by no later than September to try and have our ducks in a row. This was back in January, it was just a verbal discussion. So there was no 100-yard dash to get to a solution at any time based on the fact that there would be no deer call until this following winter. And so there's the timing aspect. It's not that it wasn't urgent. There was just no urgency to have something in place in June, July, or August that wasn't going to be implemented until probably January.
Let me ask you a
So,
question.
hold on. So, I hear your comments, and those comments apply to probably every government-run organization, and I guess we're just as guilty as others. But this plan has been being worked on, and whether it's as fast as all of us would have liked is really not the relevant point. The point is, we've got most of the answers. Whatever isn't there, when we collate through the information that these guys have, we'll know for sure exactly. We'll have sorted out Joey's input versus the person that they've been talking to that I've read. And at this point, when you're talking to the government, it could be, both of them could be right. We'll find out.
Paul, there is one thing I really need to say in the beginning, because Jim is here, and I have to give you some insight to the beginning. Years ago, I did have a meeting with these two young men in the back, and they want to know, Joe, am I covered for this? I mean, you never did anything. So years ago, Jim hooked me up. Me and him actually went down to, I think we were in Ohio, and it was the police liability end of travelers. So they made a mistake by giving me their card and say, call me anytime. So years ago, I called, and no offense, I didn't call you, I called
I
Travelers.
much prefer you call in.
Yeah, no, I know. No, that's fine. I called Travelers, and I speak to the woman that was my teacher in the class down in Ohio. And I explained over the program, and she said, absolutely, under the direction of the chief of police, this is not a volunteer program. They are covered, period. Okay, they are covered under your liability policy under Travelers.
Absolutely.
Okay, hold on.
Liability, absolutely.
Then I call workers' comp at the time. They weren't Ameritrust, they are now. Back then they were Meadowbrook. It's Ameritrust Meadowbrook now.
They're Meadowbrook now.
Yeah, no, they're Ameritrust now, okay. So now, I called them years ago, and I run it by them, and they said, well, if they are getting a small amount, even a small amount of compensation, they're getting compensation, it's at the direction of the chief of police, someone like we have and Dale mentioned about the reserve program, because they're all covered, and they don't get anything. So at the direction of the chief of police, by resolution of the township board, they are covered. So years ago, we were covered on the workers' comp end, the medical end of workers' comp, and they were covered by our liability policy through the township. So I ran a program for 11 years, knowing that they were covered. And that's the reason we have to ask Dale tonight, why did you give him this? Who's the one that advised you? Because I know he didn't come up on his own. He certainly doesn't know enough about it.
And
So,
we also have to go back to the feedback that has come to the chief and the deputy chief from Meadowbrook or Ameriprise, Meadowbrook, whoever the hell they are.
yeah, right. I get it.
Because whatever that person who is now in charge of the same area that you talked to years ago,
Yes.
whatever they tell, and I'm speaking for the township.
What if it was the same person I told you?
And if they're the same person, then we ask, why do we have a letter from you that says that
Somebody
it
got
is
to it
not
from the
paid,
township.
is not paid.
Somebody
unless it's
called her.
paid.
Ask this young man
All
back
right,
there
hold
too.
it, Joe.
He's a township
Time out.
trustee.
Time-
They
I've given
told
you-
him what they told
I've
me.
given you
Well, those are facts you need to know, thanks.
I know.
Thank you, Paul, that's all. Sorry,
But I
just-
will tell you.
It is what it is.
That
Thank you.
that group of people down there has had a number of phone calls from people on Grosse Ile asking her, I think there were at least 4 of them. And, you know, based on what they told her, she gave them an answer.
Yes, and it was
All right?
180
And then
degrees
based on-
diametrically
And then
opposed.
based on the official information, which I'm sorry has to come from the chief and Dale.
And that's fine.
And based on that, the determination at this point was, it is not a paid position and workman's comp doesn't
So
apply.
all 11
But-
years, we
but
ran a
we're gonna
program on
check.
Grosse Ile, shoot guns, and nobody was covered for anything. I don't work
I'm
that way as a
deferring
chief
to
of
your
police.
past thing, but
Oh, okay, I just happened to be lucky and there was no claims, and we didn't bounce one off somebody's head.
all I can tell you at this point in time.
That's ridiculous, Paul, you know that. I
whatever
run a
they
straight
tell us
ship,
Going forward is what we're bound by.
and I do my homework. I don't know why they don't do their homework.
We have their homework, and we will follow.
I'm not talking about
All right,
Mark and
Joe,
Brent.
That's it, your 3 minutes are over. All right, who's next?
No one asked me to give a form, that form has been in file
Hold
for
on.
15 years, and I inherited it when it came.
I know we talked about it, but
Well,
I don't
talk,
want to
speak louder so we can hear it. No, talk louder, I wanna know why.
No, that's not the issue. Who's next?
Why, that was an answer.
Uta?
We could hear it.
You can always speak,
Well, thank you.
because I can't argue with you.
You
know
are
all
the
rules.
chair. I asked to be recognized.
I know
I'm
you
here
are.
as a member of the public, obviously, but also as a trustee. I listened to what retired Chief Porcerelli has to say. The township clerk, the keeper of the records, so to speak. If these documents exist, the township needs to have those documents. And so if those things that you say you have in writing, those need to go to the
Back
administration.
up, I never said I had in writing. No, you're going one step further. I told you I contacted each by telephone. They gave me verbal agreement. Okay, go ahead.
I think you're referring to.
That's all.
And that could come back to bite us.
Well, the compensation is simple. I already notified Ann about the tanks of gas when they were in their own vehicles. I already notified when we had to pay for extra things. And our credit card has what I gave them. Go ahead. I mean, that's here nor there. That's,
All right, Bill?
that's
Okay.
nothing.
I have no stake in this. I've participated in the program for 11 years. I'm done. Thank you for letting me participate.
You've done a fine job.
I'm done. I don't want anything more to do with it. But I would like to know, somebody knows who originated the waiver form. Where did it come from? That's the only question I want to answer. That's all.
That's what we've been asking, Paul. So who can, Dale, you gotta answer the question.
I'm done.
Vote to us.
To my knowledge.
Not your knowledge, he's sitting right there, Paul.
There are
I
politicians
just
in this
said,
group that
it's
can
the
answer
same
that
form
question.
that's been in my.
Well, I don't
office.
wanna, I can't recall Mrs. Clinton, I just want an answer. I want an answer.
That's the same form.
Give me an answer. Somebody told Dale to give Mark that
That's the same,
waiver.
and that's the same form that has been on the desk table in the airport office when the volunteers would show up since the very first day.
But why now, and 11 years later, did you give this form and the program dropped on its face?
I already said, no one asked me to told me to give that